We are live. Welcome, welcome to another Wednesday evening for the Sister Shanice Show. I want to thank you so much, family, in advance for the contributions that you're going to be making. As you can see, we've got a wonderful panel lineup here today. We're going to have another very interesting topic of conversation today. And, family, as you come in, please do give us a like. Let us know where in the world you're actually viewing us from. We know we've got an international audience. We so love the fact that we are global. And so, yeah, please do let us know. So let's go around and just ask each of my panel members to briefly introduce themselves to you. Starting with the person on the top next to me in the square, our brother Ras Hoshing from Jamdon, Jamaica. Welcome, brother Ras Hoshing.
A blessing greetings to your family and blessing greetings to a wonderful panel. And we always say in the presence of the Supreme Creator, the great art of divinity, the Alpha and Omega, perfect love, African family. I am Ras Hoshing, commonly also known as Paulus. I'm a representative of the National Council of Reparations here in Jamaica. I'm also a representative of the Ancient Council of the Ancient Order of Rastafari that represents Old Mansion. And I'm also a representative of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo, which is the faith of myself and the faith of His Imperial Majesty and many Ethiopians all over earth. So that's a little bit of resume of myself. We've been on the front line now for 24 years. We've had the wonderful privilege of working with some of the great elders, including Shaggy Berry, Martimo Planner, Kojo, Ras Kojo, Bongotani, Irie Iron, and the list can go on and on. But as I said, my sister, it is a privilege, and it certainly is a wonderful occasion for us because it is good when we come together as true African family. Go ahead, my sister.
It certainly is good. It's great when we come together as a family. Welcome, brother Ras Hoshing. And let's welcome our sister Keturah, joining us all the way from Barbados. Welcome, sis.
Thank you very much. Greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty and Empress Menen. I come to you as Rastafari, and I also serve on the Reparations Committee, the current Reparations Committee in Barbados. I served on the previous one as well. And so I will speak from the perspective of Rastafari principally, but I can also report on some of the activities and plans of the Reparations Commission. Blessed love to everyone.
Oh, blessed love, sis, and welcome from Barbados, and welcome from the Rastafari community as well. It's so important, that we recognize all the different segments and of our beautiful, colorful cultural community. And in terms of Rasta, hey, enough respect every time. Let's go down to our panels below. Sister Sheila, welcome.
Voodoo, rise up, my people. Rise up. I am honored to be here today. I missed last Wednesday because of network issues here in UKKKK. I am happy to be here. We are going to have a wonderful time. I am in the company of royalty. I can see my sister Keturah, my brother Ras Hoshing, and Dr. Abu, and of course you, Sister Shanice. I am Sheila Chebet. I am a life coach. Today I come to you as a great listener because I am in the company of royalty. I give thanks.
We give thanks to you as well, my sis, for, taking time out of your busy schedule to be on our panel, to share with us your knowledge and your wisdom. We look forward to your input as well. Thank you, my sis. And another, king on the panel, none other than Dr. Abu. Rise up, Dr. Abu.
Voodoo family. Well,
Voodoo.
I'm regular on the panel, a member of the Galaxy staff, management presenter, and I'm a recoverer of white privilege addiction. I'm recovering, you understand? So I'll just make it clear, that you can understand that I acknowledge that I've been suffering from white privilege addiction, so I'm getting help. Boom.
Boom, Dr. Abu. Okay, let me just switch Sheila over and get her on screen via her other, output. Brilliant. And I'd like to rise up everybody in the chat as well. Let's see who we've got in the chat. Family. Those of you who are already on the chat, let us know that you're there. Let us know where in the world that you are viewing us from. You know, we like to know where you're listening to us from. So we've actually got Danny, who's watching us from Rugby in the UK, KK. We've got Sister Afri Jamo, who's saying, rise up. Greetings, Sister Shanice and panel. Real African brothers and sisters worldwide in the chat. Watching from Ghana. Absolutely fantastic. How is Ghana at the moment? Do share with us in the chat. And I want to rise up Hassan as well. And Ijakai, Dai, rise up yourself. Hashima, blessed panelists. Hashima back at you, my brother. And I want to rise up, what's that, Sinavia? Apologies if I've not pronounced your name right. Where are you watching us from, Sinavia? Be good to know. And rise up, our Jamaican Jankra man from the Jankra TV channel or Jankra channel, watching us, although he's got a Jamaican flag, watching us from the USA. So I think that's a Jamaican in America. Rise up, Jamaican Jankra. You are welcome. We've got James, who's watching us from North Carolina. Rise up, James. Oh, brilliant. And who else have we got? Oh, we've got Mr. Wilfred watching us from St. Morton. Oh, where is that? St. Morton. And do continue to let us know where you are watching us from. A Sala story. Not sure what that one is. But yeah, tell us, where in the world are you watching us from? Now, I'm just going to go around the panel and ask each of the panel members just, to give us some opening remarks. Maybe they want to share with us, what the hot topic is in their country, where they're viewing us from, but Raso Shing, let's have some opening remarks from you. What go on in Jamaica?
Well, as you know, the entire world is being subjugated to one of the worst evil that is being portrayed under this pandemic, and forcing of our people to take this serum that is going to be very detrimental. It's going to be depopulating our community, our nation. So that is what's happening at this present time. But as we said earlier, when we were talking on the back room, because of the last incident when one of our Rastafarian sistren was trimmed whilst in custody, this seemed to have created a backlash that has now brought a unity here in Jamaica. That we are now looking at the system to take down the system, because over the years, the injustices that we've suffered under the so-called Constitution of the Queen, even under our own security forces, you can only depict it that we are still enslaved, and we still have the so-called European masters. They're still dictating, they're still maintaining the status quo, my sister. So nothing has changed, and we know only we can change it. And we know that the physical reality are now presented themselves, because we are seeing a unity that I personally has never seen for the 24 years that I have been totally involved in Africa liberation. What I'm seeing, my sister, is a very much so enlighten us to know that the great works of our great patriarch and matriarchs, many of them we do not mention because we do not seem to write our own story, and we do not seem to give appreciation and respect to the great one that was amongst us and still living. But in saying that, my sister, as I said to you, reparation is it's so deep, it has many roads to it. We here in Jamaica, we've come to a political decision after spending many years of bringing some of our best historians from Professor Barry Shevans, Professor Neckelford, and recently Verone Shepherd and other great historians. Then we brought in some of our great legal minds in the persons of Frank Phipps, Bert Samuels, Anthony Gifford, and a lot more amongst them. And we are now able to finally come to what we say is a political decision based upon a position that we know we cannot lose, because it is based upon the same precedent that was made by the sovereign rulers when they decided to pay the enslaver, to compensate the enslaver, but they did nothing for those that they enslaved. So we've used the same figures. And this was also made, a parliamentary decision was made in the British Parliament. So what we're doing is using their law, their Magna Carta, as what they call it. We're using it, and we know we cannot lose, my sister. So that is our position in Jamaica.
Awesome, and we're going to be hearing a lot more about that position in a short while. And I want to rise up Jamaica right now for standing by the Rasta community and the young sis. I tell you, we were outraged about that here in the UKKK as well. You know, just imagine today, you know, 21st century, 2021, we really see them things are going on in Jamaica. Yeah, them take the young girl in the station and trim her. That was out of order. We were outraged about that here, the Rasta and the non-Rasta community. So we stand with our brothers and sisters in Jamaica in their outrage about this, and we are united with them on this. And I want to big up, you know, man like Chronix, man like Buju Banton as well, who spoke up and spoke out about that particular incident. I'll rise them up for that. And, you know, family are rising us up in the chat. We've got Janet Benson. She's rising up the family. And the Most High, Yah, blessings to you, family. Blessings back at you. Sister V is saying, yeah, she's rising up the panel and saying that she is where the Thames is located. So I know it runs through London. So she's not too far from where I am. And we've got... conversation and discussion going on in the chat there. We love that. We love that. Why Sister Afrijamo got on her running shoes? And I think it was Brother Wilfred. Yes, he said he's in the Caribbean. So we welcome our Caribbean brothers and sisters. Kimani is watching us from the Midlands. Sinovia, where are you? Atlanta, Georgia. Not by choice. Sinovia is saying that she can't wait to reach home on the motherland. I know that feeling. And we've got the transformation moment watching us from Kenya. And I think it was Obia Man saying he's watching us from Yard with his medals. You was in the Olympics? Obia Man, you mean send me have one of the fastest runners from Jamaica, jumper. What are you doing at the Olympics? You know, what medals are you talking about? Rise yourself up. Congratulations from the entire Sister Shanice Show family. For those medals that you have managed to successfully get. And we've got James watching us from North Carolina, but right now we've got in the station, on the panel rather, our Sister Keturah. Sister Keturah, we welcome to have some opening remarks from you, my sis.
Well, I would like to share, thank you so much for allowing me and for inviting me to be on this panel. And what's really stirring in the Caribbean today is a certain consciousness among the people and a sense of outrage at the repression that they have been experiencing for the past, say, 15 months or so, along with the rest of the globe. But more recently, people have begun to actually speak out. And you may have seen footage of demonstrations from the various plantations that we live on in the Caribbean. So in more than one state, and we really should recognize them as plantations that we are still stranded on as people who were captured and kidnapped and corralled. But people are coming out in the streets. In 3 countries over the weekend, we had people coming out and demonstrating, demanding that they be able to assert the right to choose to any kinds of treatment that they have not consented to, that because prior and informed consent is a guiding principle of all medical practice, and people are showing in no uncertain terms that they will not be repressed, that they will not be dictated to. And in the same way that they exercise choice to choose they're going to exercise choice in other areas. And it's a very and clear message that came out from 3 countries, 3 plantations in the Caribbean, as far as I am aware. So I just want to share that with the global community, with our listenership, in terms of building a consciousness of solidarity, because sometimes we are acting in our little enclave and we're not aware of the kind of news that we should be aware of. So in the Caribbean, some countries have a reputation for having vibrant, outspoken people, and in other plantations, people are termed or classified as dormant, docile, acquiescent. But this weekend, we saw that there's another side to it, that people can only be pushed so far, and then they're going to speak up. And we need to sustain that spirit of asserting our human rights. Because what's happening ties in very much with the legacies of slavery. The incident in Jamaica concerning the young sister, the young princess that was stripped of her covenant, is for us a wake-up call. Speaking as Rastafari, some of us have been lulled into a false sense of acceptance and security. But that this can happen so many years after Coral Gardens, so many years after what transpired in 1974 in the country or the plantation that I was born on, Dominica. We had in 1974 the passage of the Unlawful Societies Act, popularly known as the Dread Act. What that said was that people who had dreadlocks could be shot on sight. As citizens of that plantation, we were put outside of the protection of the law. And we would have thought that those things are far gone. But as I see mischief being framed once more by the passage of laws, it is important for us to signal to the world community that our human rights are common. And as one of our great leaders would have said, that insecurity anywhere is insecure to one person is insecurity to everyone. So let me just leave you with this one, and thank you so much for giving me the space and the time.
Rise up, Sister Keturah. Yes, indeed. You know, an injustice to one is an injustice to all, you know, and wow, the family in Barbados is backing the young sister in Jamaica as well. What a family. I want to rise up everyone in the chat. Lots of good conversations going on there, I can see. And here the Jamaican Junker said, we see them fling one stone and bust the St. Vincent PM head. Boy, we know what that was about, don't we? But, you know, let me leave it there because we want this show to go out on air. Rise up, Sister Sheila.
I give thanks. It's such an honor to listen to our brothers and sisters telling us what is happening in the places they are in. And what I'll pick up is what Sister Keturah said, whereby that it's important to have that solidarity. It is important to step out of the enclave and know what's happening around us, because there's lots of things that are happening around us that we may not be aware they're happening around us. And I want to talk about the protest that has happened in London, whereby people that do not want that device went to BBC and they wanted to storm in, and it was a huge, massive number of people. So there is protest going on against this device. I would also like to share about my last week. I was in the countryside somewhere in West Midlands on a farm, and I was staying in this place whereby the owner has more than 200 acres of farmland that has been passed down generation upon generation upon generation. So they have this farmland They live off the farm. Everything is done. They eat from the farm. They do industrial farming, whereby they supply food to the supermarkets. But during this season that we've been in, with this plan that's happening, they have not really been affected because they are contained as they are. The only place where they were affected was whereby when they told people they could not travel because of the lockdowns. Other than that, everything has been okay for them. And this puts in perspective the importance of having your own land. When you have your own land, you are cut off from the matrix. So even if things are happening here and there, you are safe. You've got the land, you'll eat from it, you sleep on it, you will do everything. You are really, really safe. So that did put some matters in perspective. Another thing that they did not have Wi-Fi. That is why I could not even join the show. And the network was also quite poor. So they are literally cut off, completely cut off. And this is not just the place I was in. This is the whole area I was in. It's all farmland. And because they all are farmers there. And what stood out for me is that these farms have been passed down generation to generation. There is no selling of land. You just pass the land down. So that makes them very, very wealthy, because to have land is to have wealth. It also makes them very independent of the system, and it makes them very free and liberated. And as we talk about reparations here, we should always know that land is the most important of them all. And I finished by talking about a church I went to. I went to a church called Lichfield Cathedral. Cathedrals are very big, massive churches. And wherever there is a cathedral, that's what makes the place have a city status. So anywhere they hear there's a city, there's a cathedral. And anywhere you hear there's a cathedral, there's a city. Anyway, inside this cathedral, it's like I had entered a place where witchcraft is practiced, or occult. It was not like a church. The number of graves and gravestones and all these macabre things were countless. And these graves, I've seen graves in church, but the most unique about these graves, first of all, there were so many of them. When I say many, I'm saying more than 100. There were graves everywhere inside the church. It is still an active church. It is a big part of the community, this church. And inside those graves, and in the graves, at the top of the graves, there was a sculpture of the dead person. The way the dead person was lying before he was lowered. I don't know whether you lower them, because these graves are on top. They're not at the bottom. They're sitting up. So before the person was put on the grave, they made a sculpture, life-size sculpture of how they were lying down, what they were holding in their hands, what their facial expression was. So there is a dead sculpture of a dead person on top of a grave that is in the church that people go to worship. And this triggered, I took as many photos as I could. So I have lots and lots of photos, and I shared these photos with my people, with my quarters, and I shared, and it has brought an awakening, kind of like what the brother was saying before he went offline, whereby he said that after the shaving of one of our sisters, there has been this unity he's never seen before. For me, after sharing these photos that were inside a Christian church, and these photos, you look at them, first of all, you have to ask, are they this really inside the church? And it has sparked this conversation with even our very religious people that normally say that the African way of doing things is full of witchcraft and all this dark magic and voodoo and everything. Now I am showing them that your own church has this in it. And these conversations are coming up, and we are talking about how there are many, many things, very dark magic, occult things that happen in religion, and it is there in broad light. But because our eyes are closed, we don't see it. We don't see it in the way they are dressed. We don't see it in the lighting they do, the candles and the things they chant, and all those things, we don't see it. So there is these conversations that are happening, and these conversations all tie in to that slumber we have been in, and it's awakening us. So it has been a very fruitful week, whereby a lot of awakening has come from very, very many quarters, and certainly even having these conversations with the rest of you here from different parts of the globe, that also adds to the awakening. I give thanks.
We give thanks to you too, Sister Sheila. Very interesting. I'd like to see some of those photos as well. I'm sure most of us would see what goes on in the dark side, in the you know, that side of the UKKK. Let's bring in Dr. Abu.
Budum family.
Budum.
Well, you know, well, rise up to all the speakers them before, you know, but I want to pay a tribute to a wonderful empress who lay to rest in Malawi today, you know, Empress Chijeski, you know, do a whole heap of work here in the UK, you know, amongst the black community, amongst the community in general, you know. And if we don't remember people like these who help pave the way that we can be even here saying certain things, then who gonna do it, you know? As I said, and I will continue to say it, African people around the world, their everyday life is a life of horror. No care how them want to dress it up. They can sing Silence Night and have a terrible day the next day. This is what we are facing. We are facing terrorism from a certain European tribe. You understand, you know? And they can pay some who look like us to terrorize, whether we're in the Caribbean or whether we're in Africa. We as a people have to develop our African consciousness, because over the years we're so conscious of other people that we even forgot where we come from here. You know? We remember. We can remember where the boat drop we have, but we can't remember where it pick us up from. You understand, no? Because we are so conscious. We are so conscious of this terrorism. You know, and we can't blame our people to really conscious of the terrorism, you know, because he's really a terrorist. So we have to pay attention. We always have to be on the lookout, you understand, for these Wazungu. You know, see it. So, but it's how we come together. As the sister was talking about land, without the collective, then come and take your land same way. You understand? Because we have to organize or perish, you know? And that's why them use all those little political things in the Caribbean and Africa to divide the people. The people them think that the political party is there for them, but the political party is only there to divide them and destroy them. You understand? We have to get back to our own African way, our own African narrative, our own African spirituality, and leave these things that the kidnapper give to us. Throw them back, give to them. You know, throw them back as oh you go into your kitchen and take up an egg and break it in the garden. You understand? This is how you have to break your tie with them once and for all. Voodoo.
Vudum, Dr. Abu, absolutely, you know, and once we've broken those ties, then maybe we'll be in a situation to actually start focusing on self and what we need to do as a people to rise ourselves up. So I certainly hope that everyone in our audience, they're buzzing away in the chat there, you know, I certainly hope that all our viewers, those of you in the audience, that you rose well today, that, you know, if you're coming towards the end of your day, that you feel that it has been a successful day, a day where you've accomplished much, because wow, you know, we the descendants of those who were kidnapped and taken to this part of the world, we have a huge debt. We owe a huge debt, you know, to our surviving ancestors, because the hell that they went through on the plantation, the Magnamese, the hell of a course that they managed to survive. We are here today because we are the descendants of survivors. And we're not here just for no reason whatsoever. You know, as Dr. Abu was saying, we are here because we have a role and a duty and a responsibility and a mission to break that yoke from around our neck. Yes, we may no longer have the physical chains and on our hands and around our necks and on our feet, but today it's about mental enslavement. We're all part of a Eurocentric matrix, and we've been engulfed in this matrix economically, politically, from a medical perspective, a legal perspective. You know, we are part of a matrix that have been oppressing us and suppressing us, you know, for the last century at least. And so we have a mighty job to do to actually release ourselves and to remove ourselves from their matrix. And each and every single one of us has a role and a job to play in that. And we're doing the best we can here, you know, to have the conversations, to wake up those who still need to be awoken, to learn from each other, to share and to learn, and then with what we learn to take it out and teach others, because, you know, we don't have the level of access to the mainstream that the wider population does. And so it's up to us as individuals really to take the works, to take the information far and wide. So today we're going to be focusing on reparations. Those of you who were with us last strong, you will know that we had a panel discussion that opened this topic for us on reparations. It was an international panel, and wow, we were focusing on that really disgusting insult from the British ambassador to Jamaica, who was just totally dismissive of Jamaica's decision to petition the British government for reparations. And, you know, we were reviewing that, and basically the feeling was a sense of outrage, you know, and there's a number of reasons, because we feel, and it was made clear at the last meeting, that without exception, reparations, our claim for reparations is a just cause, you know, for the crimes that was committed against our ancestors. And why are we, you know, as the descendants of those ancestors, claiming reparations today? Because those Europeans who were the plantation owners are still, you know, reveling in the riches and the wealth that they accumulated off of the backs of our enslaved ancestors. And, you know, they are continuing to enjoy the fruits of that wicked era that we suffered. And if they can, pay reparations to the perpetrators of that heinous crime, then they certainly ought to, one, apologize, and secondly, you know, repair the damage that has been done to the descendants of those wicked crimes. And, you know, there's so much more to be said on this, but I'm certainly not going to sit here and try and do it all, because we have a wonderful panel of speakers who are going to be contributing to the discussion on this from, you know, either a legal, an economic, a political, a social, from whatever perspective they're going to come with it at. And you, family, we want to hear your views in the chat as well. So to open the discussion and to start getting into the meat of today's debate, let's welcome our sister Keturah Black with us from Barbados.
Very often, when we speak about reparations, most of the people that we are speaking to do not have a clear understanding of what reparations is. So if I may, I would like to say briefly what reparations really is. When we speak of reparations, we are speaking of the compensation that African people and descendants of Africans globally should be paid for the labor of their foreparents, 400 years and counting of that. However, reparations has both a financial compensation dimension as well as a self-repair dimension. And it is important for us to care ourselves, heal ourselves, strip from our psyche the legacies of slavery that is now fixed in our DNA. So the majority of our Black family or African family is uncomfortable and in fear of the discussion of reparations. Let me say that compensation should encompass a whole range of dimensions. So while financial compensation is an important part and that is non-negotiable, there's also the restoration of our condition or former condition. There's a restitution, there's satisfaction, guarantees of non-repetition. But as Rastafari, I want to say that I and I cannot give give up I cannot give up a continent to hold on to a plantation. I must inherit original wealth. Hence, there are those of us who want to return home, return to this Africa that is rebirthed within I. Because although some of us are born on plantations scattered globally and reborn in our spirit, in our soul, and that is not going away, and some of us want to return home. As well as the return home, we do not expect to return home as refugees. The wealth of Africa that has been taken from Africa, her people, her minerals, her art, her artifacts, her intelligence, her intelligentsia, to use a term that I really wanted to find something else. But anyway, the human expertise there, not just the physical body, but the capabilities that I as an African people have imbued within us and has been contributing to the building of the Western society. All of this must return. So let me hasten to say that just as it took many hundreds of years and many voyages to bring Aina across the Atlantic, the trade in humans, Africans, across the Atlantic into this part of the world and to be scattered far and wide. Just as it took that long, it is going to take some time for us to make reparations strong. We owe it to ourselves, if we have any sense of self, of our divinity, of our place in creation, we owe it to ourselves to demand reparations. But equally, we owe it to our ancestors who always resisted, always fought, and always demanded reparations. So we have this scholar, Professor, Vice Chancellor, the Honorable Sir Hilary Beckles, who have done extreme work in the Caribbean to present the facts to our people. And he mentions that this current movement for reparations is the 8th iteration, which means that many generations before have carried that baton forward, and like a relay, other generations have taken it and carried it forward. And this generation, we are tasked with that responsibility and solemn duty to continue to demand reparations, but at the same time, we demand the compensation from the former enslavers. We also must engage in a process of repair of self, repair of families, repair of relationships, so that we generate such a vibration globally that it bursts asunder the seals and make reparations come. I'll stop here for now.
It'd be good if you could hear me. Thank you so much, my sis, for setting out what reparations actually is, and agree with you there. It's much, much more than just compensation. Repatriation, restitution, restoration, those of us there returning not as refugees, and a guarantee to non-repetition, satisfaction. Thank you so much for laying that out. It is vast, it is huge indeed. And let me go over now to Dr. Abu to contribute to the discussion. You're on mute. Taking a leaf out my book now.
Give thanks to Sister Cecilia, wonderful, wonderful, well said, you understand, Reparation, I take it out of the repair, because sometimes when the car get repaired, we end up with a different model bonnet. We want full restoration. That is what we need, restoration, to restore back to our natural self, This repair, sometimes we don't go repair to go back and do the same nastiness again. You understand? We need to, as I said, we need to develop our African consciousness, and don't be ashamed. We must not be ashamed. You understand? To be who we are. And this is the whole enslavement. The chain may be taken away, but We are ashamed of ourselves, you know. And as I said, it's not our fault. It's what we have been through. You know, we get no form of counseling. We have more churches and mosques and wine bar and whorehouse. Where is the counseling center? You know, these are the things them. If we talk about reparation, you know, and going back to the motherland, we don't want to bring back a bunch of people we're supposed to be in the psychiatrist ward here back into Africa, blood. You know, because we see the mental illness that the society put us through here. You understand? And they don't even have the resource to deal with it. So you think Africa, you know, have the capability to deal with certain things. We have to start to repair from where we are. You understand? We have to organize ourselves from where we are. You understand? We can't, you know, we can't just look and talk about reparation. It's a preparation for even where, because a lot of us saying that we want to go back to Africa, but it have to prepare. You understand? You know, even if it's a farmer and you go do something in the land, you have to prepare the land. You know, and this is what I see over the years. You understand? We just run with this commercial happiness and we forgot, you know, about tomorrow. You know, we some of us move towards Africa because we can afford it. But what happened to those who can't even afford it? We have to look out for them too and organize ourselves that we can help those in that position. You know, we can't talking about reparation and we still have the European narrative here. The same behavior, the same principle, all of these things. We have to wake up from that and realize that, you know, we're all in this thing together, man. You know, and we must not be ashamed of one another. We should feel good when we see one another and to know that, hey, especially in this time, yeah, when I see my brethren, I embrace him because, boy, we are dropped like fly. So give thanks to all the panel members all the time. Voodoo.
Voodoo, Dr. Abu, give thanks. You know, lots of agreement in the chat there. You know, we can't go back so. Some of we shouldn't really be thinking to go back at all. But, you know, we need to get ourselves right first, don't we? Lots of agreement in the chat. What's this one saying? I moved to the Gambia. I couldn't afford it, but I didn't care. Still trying to return. What, back from the Gambia or that, you know, give us some more clarification there, you know, and yeah, so let's talk about the Garvey movement here, a mass movement similar to the Garvey movement. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wow, you know, if 1,000 of us, you know, with all of our skills, 1,000, and within the 1,000 there's doctors, there's scientists, there's pharmacists, there's counselors, you know, builders, developers, scientists. Oh my days, that would be absolutely awesome. 1,000 of us per country going back, reversing the brain drain. Oh my days. Let's bring in Brother Russell Sheen.
Blessing my sisters and brothers and all our people that is listening. It is wonderful to know that we have such an international audience of our family. When it comes down to our people, the enslavement of our people was hell, my sister. When you come to the definition of hell in any category, in every nation, their so-called narrative of it, that is where we have been taken. Our situation can never be compared neither to the Jews. What they endured, my sister, was like a walk in the park. What we have been enduring for over 8,000 years and more reality in the last 500 years is hell. We were brought in hell. That is why you cannot pay for the disbursement of our people. You cannot pay for the emotional, psychological, you name it. All these things you cannot pay us for. It's only our divine spirit that can restore. As what Dr. Abu said, repairing. You have something broken and you repair it, it breaks down again. To restore is to bring it back to what it was originally. And now that we know that when the first ships came across the Atlantic, our civilization was so advanced, more than Europeans, up to that present time of European history. And to see what they've done and the evil. You see, my sisters and brothers, you cannot blame our people, because when you're brought into hell, this is what hell has done to our race. And if you was to take a child from its rightful parents and brought that child to strangers, that child will grow up thinking that these strangers are the child's parents. And that is what's happened. That is what's happened. So Euro to disintegrate, it is a spirituality that can repair our African psychologically, emotions, you name it, because there's no money that can do that, my sister. That is why we in the Caribbean, as what my sister said, we have been able to separate the different claims as it relates to reparation and how we see it. As what the Rastaman said in the beginning, repatriation was the only solution. And when he says that, he said to us, we must show Babylon the sins they have done. And once we've shown them the sins, their own people will bring down the system of Babylon, because we have so much evidence, my sister, right? That the European people was even as what Lord Gifford said, Europeans suffered from the enslavement because they took up a position as they were better than we. That is a false illusion to all the majority of white people. So it just shows you that for them to maintain this order, they had to bring us into hell and make it look as if we were less than 3/5 human being, when we are the first Homo sapien, and they are the ones that were the Neanderthal and the different species of humanity that was existing upon the planet, who we brought knowledge, wisdom, and all civilization, that they were able to rise from their primitive position to what they are today as civilized European, Caucasian, Asians, you name them. That has been our position, my sister. We've been in hell, and there's no counterpart in any nation and any race that can compare to what they've done to we, my sister. And that's what it is. We were brought to hell when we were in heaven. That's what they all did. And remember, it's not just the European. The Arabs, the Asians came across the Sahara, and they started it over 8,000 years ago. That is why Africa is still in bondage, because Africa could not have been kept down by one European nation. It doesn't matter how much Confederate state came together. It had to be a global confederacy of different nations. And we know who was involved, my sister, because it was written in stone. And that's what we know. Repatriation is the only solution. And that is a position that we must take. And it must be a governmental one. And this is what gives us the position of the African Union, because a lot of you don't know that in 2005, with the collaboration of the Rastafarian elders, we brought the first conference here in the Caribbean. I'm sure my sister in Barbados knows about it, when the South African Union Caribbean Diaspora Conference was converged here in Jamaica, and the 16 resolution that came out of it, my sister. That meant that was funded by all states of Africa, spearheaded by the South African government under the African Union umbrella. Let us not change the wheel. Let us take back control of the wheel. That is our position today, my sister. And we know the solutions to our problem. His Majesty told us, when righteous Africans come together, the rest of the world will come to order. And that is where we are, my sister. So let's not be in fear. Our spirituality defines all things, including the action and our intellectual capability. So when we speak of the true African spirit, we know what we're talking about. His Majesty defined it for us when he said religion, rules and regulation made by men to bring them to a better understanding of themselves, of the universe and creation. But our spirituality has no boundary, and it is the African spirit that we will use to unite us and to break down the walls of Jericho, the walls of Babylon. That's where we are, my sister.
Ashe, the African spirit that's going to break down the walls of Jericho. I like that. Rise up, Brother Ras Oshing. And we've got a Brother Montu in the chat. And he's reminding us that, you know, I suppose not only do we need to restore ourselves, we need to restore the earth as well. The earth has taken a shattering and a battering as well. I mean, the oil is being drained out of it, the diamonds, the gold, all of its minerals is being mined out of the earth. The animal kingdom has suffered, the insect world, the bees have all suffered, you know, with the whole planet. Has suffered at the hands of those who are in charge today. And so we really, really need to take up our position, don't we, sooner rather than later, to not only save humanity, but to save the planet itself. What say you, Sister Sheila? Let's welcome you to the discussion.
I am just overwhelmed by the conversations. I am very, very much honored to be part of this conversation. And when our story will be written, may it be written that Sheila was in this panel when the world was being changed, and I was part and parcel of the discussion. A few years ago, I was living in Malawi, and I went for a weekend holiday by the lake. In Malawi, there is a Lake Malawi, which takes a third of the country, and that is the place you go for the beaches. It's got very clear blue sands. Now, in the place I was staying, which was owned by a Malawian family, there was a woman, a white farmer, a Zimbabwean, that had come to take accommodation in one of the cottages for a long period of time because the late President Mugabe had kicked the white farmers out. So Malawi and Zimbabwe border each other. So when the white farmers were kicked out, some found themselves in Malawi, some found themselves in Zambia, some found themselves in South Africa. I don't think there was any that found themselves in the UK. They just found themselves within Africa. None of them left for any European nation. So this one had found herself in Malawi, living in a cottage next to mine. And she'd come there, she'd taken the cottage, she had leased it for 6 months, as she was planning what to do next. So we had conversations. I was there for a week, and during that week, we had very deep conversations. And in the conversations, she was telling me how Mugabe had done so much wrong. She had been a white farmer in Zimbabwe for a very long period of time. She was born there. She understood the Zimbabwean landscape. They were planting food that fed the Zimbabweans and also brought in foreign exchange because they were doing a lot of international exportation of the food. She said that they had built a school within the farm. She said they owned around 10,000 acres of land, so it was a big farm.
Wow.
And they had built a school, and therefore they were among the... Can you hear me still? Because I saw I was frozen.
Yes. Yeah.
And she said her farm was amongst the farms that had a school. And all the children of the workers in the plantation, this was the plantation in the real sense, all the workers in the plantation, the children went to school. They went to school in the morning, that none of the children was expected to do any farm work. They went to school in the morning, and in the evening, in the afternoon, they were given very little farm work. So she was saying they were one of the progressive farms around the area, that they had even built a hospital in which they were charging very little to treat them. And whatever they were charging, they were taking it off their pay, so they did not have to have money to access health they just had to go and the money would be deducted from their salary. She also said that each of the workers was given one line of maize to do with that maize as they wanted. So each of them was given a line of maize and told that this is your line. No other plantation, she said, did that. All the plantation, whatever it is that you planted, belonged to the white farmer. But for her, they had humanity and they said this one line belonged to you. So she was talking of how benevolent they were and how much they were bringing in so much good, so much farmland. And she said before they came there, before her father came and took the land, or grandfather, the land was just lying fallow. Nothing was being done about the land. And when they came, they brought in this industrialization and all this kind of thing. And she went on and on. And now she said, now that Mugabe has kicked her out, the Zimbabweans are going to stay hungry. They're going to die of hunger. Things are just going to get worse for them. The international community is going to run away from them. The sanctions, some of the things she said have actually come to pass in terms of the sanctions, in terms of the instability, in terms of all these things, they have come to pass. She even said that Mugabe was not going to stay there for long and all these kind of things. But she said she is now looking for a farm in Malawi to continue with her expertise. Mm-hmm. At the time, I was just thinking it's conversation. I can tell you for a fact, in 2021, she is running a very successful business around Lake Malawi, where we were. She bought off the whole of that lake, the whole of the cottages, running a very successful, I think it's a pottery farm or something like that. But she is a landowner in Malawi as we speak in 2021, running a very big plantation. Now, this is why it's very important for us to have these conversations. Dr. Abu has said, we are in this together. A lot of us think that this is the problem for Jamaicans, for the Caribbeans, for whatever. This is nothing to do with us. We are okay. You know, it's not our problem. Oh, they are talking about reparation. It is their problem. It's nothing to do with us. I am sure that is what the Malawians at the time, when they were seeing Mugabe kicking away the white farmers, they thought, that is their problem. Nothing to do with us. I can tell you right now, at Lake Malawi, there is a white farmer that was in Zimbabwe who is now a white farmer in Malawi, probably giving them one line over the ports or whatever it is they're doing, but completely has come and transferred whatever enslavement they were doing in Zimbabwe and now has brought it in Malawi. Now you can imagine each of them, when each of those white farmers kicked out, went in different African countries. You can imagine what they're doing there. They've definitely gone and started plantations in these African countries. And this is something that's ongoing now. Now, let's not forget that in Zimbabwe right now, the conversations that are happening, same conversations that are happening in South Africa, is about compensating these white farmers for the loss of their lands, for the loss of feelings when they were kicked out, you know, for the injury to feelings. This compensation is happening. And the African governments are entertaining them and actually speaking about how they can compensate them. Certainly, this is the development that's happening in Zimbabwe. So, and then you hear us Africans speaking about restoration, speaking about repatriation, speaking about reparations, and our own people come and say it's not necessary. Let us accept and move on. It happened a long time ago. It is nothing to do with us. And all this and all this. And as Sister Ketura said, we are the 8th generation. What is happening is that we'll be talking about 20th generation, 50th generation, having the same conversation. You know why? Because we do not think this is our problem. And you know why? Because we again come back to the spirituality world, whereby we have taken people's religions that tell us, forgive and forget. Blessed are they that forgive. For I don't know what mansions are being built and gold and walked streets of gold and whatever. So wait to go there in heaven, whereby you'll be given all that's there. You know, that kind of nonsense. So I just chime in to what my fellow panelists are saying and say that we need to restore ourselves to the people that we were. And that starts with our spirituality. And that starts with also conversations like this, whereby we realize this is not a problem of only a certain section of the African people. This is a problem of all African people, wherever we are. all of us, wherever we are, because our lands are in trouble. Our people are under attack. Our spirituality, our psyche, our everything is under attack by the same one enemy that we've had over and over. And this enemy does not tire. This enemy does not down their tools and says, oh, we're going to take a break now. No, this enemy is brutal. And always coming up with new ways of putting a fight here and there, here and there. And that is why we need to wake up. That is why we need to have conversations like this. And we don't have to mince our words when having conversations like this. I give thanks.
We give thanks to you, Sister Sheila, as always, for your very insightful, story telling. And, that was such a moving story. It makes us realize, really, the extent to which we need to urgently organize as a people, and return to do the works that need to be done. It is an insult to all of us, really, that anyone of any other race should be on the continent, even sowing one grain of corn, to feed our people. But, I'm sure it's all been exported to feed her own people anyway. The one line that she's given to her workers, it's just so that she doesn't have to pay them so much to feed them, so they can feed themselves. And, the health care that she's supposedly providing, it's not for free. They're having to pay for it out their salary. Who knows, what sterilization agents she's actually giving, those very same people. When we put ourselves, in the hands of others, people who don't look like us, at heart don't really like us, we can tell that from the history. It just leaves us vulnerable. And it doesn't matter how colorfully they try and paint what it is they're doing. To me, they sound like the missionaries who came empty-handed with no land, just a Bible in their hands. And by the time they were leaving, they had all the riches of the chiefs, all the riches of the kings, bowing down to them, and all of our land. And until we wake up and realize the importance of land, we would not allow a single person outside of our race to own even a 1 acre of land, much less tens of thousands of acres. It's absolutely outrageous. And we are the ones who are going to have to try and start working together so that we can create a pathway to Africa to be, the ones who are doing the agriculture and alongside our brothers and sisters on the continent. We are our brothers' keepers. We are the ones who's going to have to bring change to the continent alongside our brothers and sisters. We cannot look to anyone else to do it for us. Beautiful story, sis, and it's a wake-up call. It is a wake-up call. But you know what? Also, our brothers and sisters on the continent, they're going to have to get, there's restoration and repair work that's needed there as well as here. We need to see ourselves and each other as business partners so that we can work in partnership. I see too much respect being given to people outside of our race and too little respect being given to people who look like us, who want to return and do business. So that has got to change so that we can save ourselves. We are our own saviors. Well, we saw our brother Jammers there very briefly, looking absolutely dapper. I don't know where he's gone. He's dropped off again. I don't know if he's got at another event as well and he just showed his face to say hi or what's going on. But brother Jammers, welcome Black. We need you in the house as well. But until you do, continue going around and have our conversation here. Sister Katura, a lot has been said since the last time you spoke. Let's hear from you, sis, to contribute further to the discussion that we're having. Oops. Undo your mic, please, sis.
Yeah. Yes, thanks you for giving me space again. I think that globally, we very much agreed on what needs to be done. There might be differences in our ideas about how it should be done, but we very much agreed that we deserve a better life. We as Black people, as African people everywhere deserve a better life. And in the legal system that we are all subjected to, we all live under a particular legal system. If a crime has been committed, the doer of the crime is either fined or confined. When you confine the doer of the crime, then you take responsibility to maintain them for their well-being. You hear a lot about their human rights that has to be preserved and respected. We are choosing as an African people to fine rather than confine the criminals who have committed the crime against humanity, the crime against the humanity of Black people. So there is one aspect of reparations that must involve payment. I agree entirely with people of the sentiment, and that was where I started more than half my life ago, that you cannot pay me for the pains, the hurts, the this, the that. That is quite true, which is where we are tasked with repairing ourselves, restoring ourselves, remaking and recreating ourselves so that we can be worthy sons and daughters of Africa. But let us not fool ourselves that we do not live in a material world. When we return to those of us who want to return, we are returning to a physical place. And those of us who want to stay, we are staying in a physical place. But we have to remake the circumstances of our lives such that there are nobody, no people who are lacking. It was my utmost hurt to go to South Africa for the conference against racism in 2001. And like everywhere else in the world that I had been, it was a Black person that I saw sleeping in a doorway on the ground. And it really hit home to me that our condition is the same wherever you go. Yes, there are people of other races and nationalities, is to make the case that we do deserve a better life, and if we do not demand it, we will not get it. So we have to work on our self-repair, we have to work on our restoration. But we should also demand that the wealth that has been stolen from us be returned to us. We will work out the details and the mechanics, because I am a firm believer that we need to, we as an African people, that we need to revalue what we consider to be wealth and currency. So it makes no sense to me that African nations have so much mineral wealth below our feet, and yet those countries are indebted. They should not be in debt to any country. For 400 years, we worked and were never paid. But in the post-independence period, less than 70 years, all of our countries have accumulated so much debt to the international financial institutions. This just doesn't make sense. If you're adding on one or subtracting whatever from operation you're carrying out on one side of the equal side and the other side of the equal side, it cannot be that our attempt at liberation is a cost to us, a debt that future generations will pay. Because currently, speaking for the Caribbean in particular, the levels of debt servicing, of indebtedness for most countries is more than 100% of their GDP. And the debt service ratio ranges anywhere between 35 and 65% of your GDP, which means that in this my lifetime, the debt will not be paid. And with the new things that have been going around the place and indebting our countries even more and more, and indebting the plantations even more and more, so that we have to work harder and harder to pay for it, it means that future generations will be born into slavery. Marcus Garvey warned us. He said to us, if we're not careful, we could be back in slavery again. I remember when we used to chant, Africa must be free by 1983. We remember Augustus Pablo and a lot of our early, very conscious singers reminding us that we had to take Marcus Garvey's words seriously, and we had to run with that mission. We had to do the work. It is facing us now that we have to continue that work. We have to do the work of repairing ourselves, of restoring ourselves, of devising new ways and different ways, having different ideas about how we will make wealth and maximize wealth, and about the well-being of all of our people. And I want to say that women are at the center of the reparations discourse, just as women, Black women, were at the center of the slavery enterprise. With our very bodies, we reproduce that free labor force, but we also labored in the fields, and there was no work that was too hard for Black women to do. We have to be at the center of the reparations discourse. We have to speak very loudly. We have to speak within our families, to have our children, our relatives, all of the persons we interact with understand what reparations is about. Because many of our people are hurt and frightened and afraid to even speak about it. We have to speak in our workplaces, we have to speak in our communities. We have to speak loudly to the rest of the world and try to engage the African family worldwide in this mission. So in the Caribbean context, in terms of the proposals that are put forward for reparations, we have the CARICOM Reparations Commission's 10-point plan. And that 10-point plan speaks to many aspects of national life, of well-being, and those are some ideas to begin the discussion about reparations. Some people might think, well, if you're asking for reparations, then you're not doing anything else. You're just going to be sitting and waiting. Please hear the two aspects of the reasoning. One aspect is to remake and reformulate and develop ourselves. The other aspect is to assert our humanity and to say to the ones who have done us injury that you have to compensate for the injury that you have done. I'll rest here.
Rise up, my sis. Thank you so much for your input there. We're getting some feedback from someone's phone. If we can all put our phone on mute if we're not speaking, but not you, Dr. Abu. Let's go straight over to you, my brother.
Vodum. And once again, rise up to the speaker and the panel, you know. The problem we have with our president and prime ministers and bishop and all of these, they are repair people. They are the people that go through the educational system and be repair. You understand? Here we are, a BMW body and a Mercedes engine. You understand? You know? And I'm gonna show you how deadly the whole reparation things is all about. Mosiah the First at Brixton. Some brilliant sisters, women, warriors, get the white men, children to go and pole in the middle of the road. And you know what black people start to call them? Sell out. Imagine. For over 400 years, the first time we get the sons and daughters of the plantation owner to go and sit as a what they call sandbag, and we start to call our sisters. These are people who talk about they are Garveyites and they are liberationists. These are what I'm telling you, where we are not really fully understanding what we are doing. Reparation. If we take reparation from a spiritual level, then most of these white young people will go home and hang their parents if we really practice the true reparation. You said, I'm sick and tired of people want us to repair ourselves in Jesus' name or whatsoever they want to come with. It doesn't work with me because the same one who enslaved you ain't gonna give you something to free you. You understand? And I don't know those fellows. I don't know all of these fellows what them tell me about. That's why I could come here and talk about sister and the sister that gone on to the ancestor. I know her. I don't know Moses and all of them fella where wanna come tell me about Aya. Yeah, and this is where we mess up the mind of our people. And we talk about some things where the kidnapper tell we Aya. You know? We're talking about land. Many African think that the woman place is only in the bedroom and the kitchen. And this is not an African narrative. You understand? You know? As I said before, the African woman is a representation of the planet Earth. Aya. And if you don't respect her in her proper place, then you are nothing. All the talk we wanna talk about liberation and all that. Them the thing they does to crawl back from the plantation, blood. You understand? We can't talk about if we are gonna restore ourselves. Yeah. Then all of them think that we have to let them go here because we never have them before. Today they repair us. And Michael go out and his Michelle come back in. That's what the man them do to us. I kill up with some little alternative lifestyle. And we don't even take a day off from work for the things them do to us. You understand? And these are repair people. I'm tired of repair people because repair people is fixed. That's how the drugs dealer fix them. And it will forever fix them, blood. You understand? You know? Totally restore of our people here. And get back into our African spirituality, where we can take up our weaponry from our spirituality. Not these carnage behavior, you understand? You know? We are glad to put down our sister. You understand? You know? Because it take certain event for our woman them to stand up, you know, go and check Queen Nzinga and all of them when the man them that scratch them friggin' balls in Africa. These women and the Candanes and all of these people stand up. We have some workless man them amongst us. Oh yeah. You understand? And some of them in high places too. And they can talk a whole heap of crap because my granny always said, well done is better than well said. And I'm sick and tired of them well said talk. A full time them get up and do something and decide to bleed for the people. A full time we're ready to bleed for our people. Vodum.
Wow, Vodum, Dr. Abu, full time we're ready to bleed for our people. Our ancestors bled for us. Our ancestors shed so much blood for us. You know, I'm looking at the comments in the chat as well. I want to rise up Brother Jeff for his donation of £10. Thank you so much. Rise up, my brother. Much appreciated, love. And to all of you who are commenting in the chat, interesting conversation going on as well. And to Dr. Abu, enough vodum, enough fire. And the chefness is saying, I love Dr. Abu so much. He doesn't sugarcoat nothing. Big up. And, you know, Mr. Wilford saying, we need African spirituality based on restoration and reparations. And there has been talk about repatriation as well, and about us doing for self, coming together. How do we come together and begin to put repatriation into practice? You know, others are feeling it's too much talk and not enough action. And what my advice would be is that you get together in your syndicate groups, get together as a family, get together as a collective of families, get together as a collective of friends. Pool, you know, get together in your groups and pool your finances and your resources and your skills together and make that move. Sister Sheila was telling us about, you know, the white woman, I think she on her own, who's just gone out there and done it. And that's what we've got to do. Ideally, it's better if we can do it as a movement. But as I think it was Brother Jeff was saying, we don't have time. The time is now. Because others are organizing, they're taking up the land, they're strategically positioning themselves, and they are organized. And if we don't get our act together and act now, we're going to find ourselves in a situation that's going to be incredibly difficult for us to come out of. Bring it in, Brother Rasso Shing.
Blessing family. My sister, you see, one thing I keep realizing, because of the fact that you're in England, in the UK, against the system, and you're obviously being classed as the minority, we're in the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica, we're 96% of pure African blood. The other 5% consists of those who mix up with different nations, just like myself, and also include all the Arabs and the Jews who is running everything. You see, what you need to understand is this. The same plantocracy enslaver that conquered and came and did throughout the Caribbean is the same family that runs the Caribbean. They're the ones that owns these plantations, just as the white plantation owners in South Africa is not the white man who's planting and tilling the ground. It is a black man, shackled slavery in the 21st century. So when you see all these goods coming to England from Jamaica, it is farmed by the majority of our people, but the plantation is run and owned by 7 families. So they get all the benefit, all the rewards of it. So when we speak of what's happening, where South African farmer is now in Gambia and doing the same thing, it just shows you the insanity of our leaders, because you owe so much for your sin. And no matter how much money you said you've loaned us from IMF to World Banking, when you put them together, it's a drop in the ocean. So my position is very simple, as what the great elders, Shaggy Berry and the great one said. You will always have many critics, Raso Shing, but make sure you're working while they're criticizing, because only action can define our position and create the reaction. And what I'm saying to our people today, we haven't got no more time, my sister. This generation that consists of who I'm seeing on the screen, and many more who is listening, and many more all over, we have to determine this issue before 2025, because come 2030, the global vision of all the nation is to depopulate and have robots, artificial intelligence, and smart city that people live into, where you've got to have a microchip, the mark of the beast. So we haven't got no time, my sisters and brothers. It has to be now. And because we know that we've been working it out from so long, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, His Imperial Majesty, Nkrumah, Kenyatta, the name goes on and on and on. We are the only nation on this planet that has a Marcus. We are the only nation on this planet that has as Imperial Majesty. No other nation has any individual in flesh like those 2 champions. So my sisters and brothers, we haven't got no more time. Repatriation is a must, and it has to be done under a governmental structure, which means it has to be a governmental decision, just as how Jamaica has made. The Jamaican government didn't want to make that decision. It was the amount of evidence that have been presented by generation, as what my sister says, 8 generation of our people, to finally succumb the Jamaican government to make a political decision, which means that our claim is on behalf of our nation. And what that has done, it has given the Haitian family, our brothers and sisters, what they paid to the French government, they must now return to the Haitian. And just as how we've learned that the Portuguese, all this time, this little one is being so quiet, and we've now realized the Portuguese has never gave up Brazil. They've never gave up their Portuguese colony. They keep on getting money from all these areas, just like the Spanish. So when it comes onto a monetary claim, we must be wiser than the devil, because the devil will not change. And what we have to use when it comes onto a monetary position, by looking at what being paid to the respective governments and people. That is why it is so important, Dr. Abu, as what Dr. Abu said. Shaggy Berry once said to me, Russell Shing, who owe us? Is it black people or is it white people? So why is it we do not make sure we are educating white people and their generation? Because black people don't owe reparation. So when we see them gathering, how can we say it's a sellout when it is them and their generation that has benefited for what their leaders and their government and their sovereign elders have done? So we need to educate the European generation. And as what Dr. Abu said, by doing that, do you know what's going to happen? They themselves is going to go back to their respective home and tear down. They will start tearing down the walls of Babylon because they will realize that Mother Nature is now repairing the damage. So when they see earthquake, lightning and thunder and flood and earthquake all over China, the nation of the respective region who has condoned the evil of their people will realize it is deeper than money, because their future is now in their hands and they have to come to a decision and they have to bring down this system. And it is them that is going to do it, not us. And as where it refers to Africa, we don't owe. Let us start paying them. And what we don't pay them, we start to repair ourselves. That means we are now in control of our present and our future. Because 1 year of every African state not paying no IMF and World Bank, do you know how much we can do in infrastructure, to invest in science and all faculty of society? The 500 billion that French colony is currently paying to France. Do you know how much 500 billion can do to the development of the west coast of Africa? So when we are saying, my brothers and sisters, we must become our own masters. Let us not be in fear anymore. We're not doing what is illegal. We're doing what is right and what is just. It is our God-given position. We didn't invade no land. We didn't steal no one. We didn't rape no woman. We didn't slaughter no children. That's what they did to us, my sister and brother. And we are the ones who keep on speaking as if we have to apologize to them. Come on. It's an insanity. And I'm so glad the Rastafarian movement and the great Africans, we all fully emancipated, not just our mind, but our spirit. Because without the spirit, you cannot define your mind. And that is where we are, my brother. We can't wait. It is now.
Rise up, rise up. The time is now. We're running out of time. And, you know, we've got to do for self. I mean, this is what we were talking about in my show earlier to some extent as well. It was a different topic, but we came to the conclusion that we have to be the revolutionaries. We are the ones who are going to have to take back Mama Africa. We are the ones who have got to be the resistors. We are the ones who've got to fight for freedom and get our freedom. You know, we can't expect anyone else to do it for us. We are the ones who've got to restore ourselves as well. You know, wow. Imagine, you know, look at where we are, where we are the majority on an island, 96% Africans, and a little 4% are on everything. We're really going there, so we must be out of our minds. Let's bring in Dr. Brother Jammers at this time. Are we out of our mind, my brother? 96% population, and we met the little 4% run everything and control everything. What's wrong with us? Rise up, Jammers.
Greetings, family. It's an honor to be a guest once again on the show. We have to understand, basically, it's a criminal justice system. You see, they've set up this system, you know, to keep their stolen goods, you know. It's called a code of law. What is a code? Code means to get together, co-pilot, collaborate. And D means to bring down, decline, deduce, deduct. So when you put the word co and D down together, It means to get together to bring down somebody, you know. So and how do you do that? You create a complicated set of instructions or precedents called rules to make other people fall low under, you know. So called law. That's why it's called a code of law. Basically, they come together to bring down something using law. When you reverse the word law, law is L-A-W. When you read what law means, read means to go back, add means to move, advance, admire. So when you read the word law backwards, you see the word wall. So basically, criminal justice system is justice for the criminal by using a system. What is a system? A system is a growth. Stem means to stop. So basically to stop your growth. So we have justice for the criminals by a system. System means to stop your growth. But why this thing called law? Law is just something that is laid down, a set of orders. It's not based on truth. It's not based on morals. So that's why I've got a problem with the word moral in your the legal, political, economic, historical, a moral claim, because you're making a claim to criminals who have no morals. So this is where it will fall down, because the only way they've got their morals is from the Moors, who had all. So they are copying the customs and the costumes of the Moors. But the thing that is lacking is heart and feeling. So they're just using political tricks. And look at the word political. Political, inside the word political, a poll is when you collect something, as in a poll. They always have a poll in a political campaign. Lit, once again, is a Latin word for quarrel, quarrel. Once again, so basically, this is just a quarrel to obtain stolen goods. And when it comes to reparations, is a remedy for a criminal act. So this is another problem. So to get to get a remedy on reparations, you have to prove they're a criminal. That's one aspect of it. And to prove they've set the laws up to stop you from proving them a criminal. So the only way you can get them is on a technicality. So you don't expose them, but they'll give you something based on a technicality. The technicality is hidden in the principle that we have to apply, called precedence. Precedence means, and I'm just going to read it out. Precedence means the condition. It's not race. It's not white superiority. They're trick words. The real word in law, what they're using to keep us down, is called precedence. I'll give you what it means. The condition of being considered more important than someone else. This is what they're using to keep us down. And it's putting yourself in priority of importance or rank. They and all other cultures do it. They recognize each other's importance, and they give power by recognizing each other's importance. And then when the community gives an importance to another individual, like a Marcus Garvey or a Malcolm X, in our community, if we practice precedence amongst ourselves and give the mother authorities, give the fathers authority, give the youngsters authority, we are creating our own precedence. We are creating authority. If a school bully takes your sweets and your money, and you ask the school bully, can I have my money and my sweets back? You are giving the power to the school bully. And by asking him, you're giving him the power to make decisions for you, when his mind is the mind of a criminal. So this is the same problem that we are doing. The person is not going to expose himself as a criminal and give us what kind of remedy can they give us? They call themselves Germans. I'm not going to go into that, because I don't want you to get cut off. But so what kind of remedy can they give us if we cannot trust these people in all the evidence that they've given us? They've caused destruction amongst us and the planet. How can we trust these people to give us a remedy for reparations? So what do we have to do? We have to create a precedence amongst ourselves. We have to construct. How can we use a law that is constructed by them as any credence to give us a remedy? We have to construct our own rule, law, and can't go, once again, as I said, last strength, into an intellectual battle, because everything else is fine. We're attacking them from all angles, and the platforms like this where we're sharing information, communication, but we have to go into an intellectual battle based on the reality that they are operating on our stolen goods. Once you go to them to ask them, you're giving them the power. So we have to go into an intellectual battle. And once again, the word I like the family to look up is precedence. For precedence. So we now have to see ourselves as an authority. We have to make a king and queen and a leader amongst ourselves. Then we can challenge their authority with our authority. Because once again, law is just a set of orders. But who's laid down the orders and for whose benefit? So we can't go by their rule and their law because it's for their benefit. We have to counteract it once again by rising ourselves up and looking at ourselves up with precedence and importance, and then we can go into an intellectual battlefield and win.
Wow, as always, jammers, you know, so much to think about there. Oh my days. Wow, wow, wow. Because on the one hand, you know, from a legal perspective, we're saying we need to get our case together. We need to build our case and take our case against them. And then here you are just saying, we're taking our case to the criminals. How do we really expect the criminals to look sympathetically at our case? And, you know, and we're just appealing to them to give us back some of our own stolen goods. Is, you know, if a bully took our goods in the playground, we wouldn't do that. We just build up ourselves, you know, strengthen up ourselves and take back our things from them. Wow. Let's go over to Sister Sheila here, who's got the job of following up Brother Jammers on that different perspective that he's just thrown into the ring. Welcome back, Sister Sheila.
And what great shoes to fit in after Brother Jammers has spoken. And I will start by asking if any of you has ever watched a program called The Weakest Link. This was a program whereby they were winning money. Questions were asked, and there were a group of people. So maybe 10 or 20 or people, and each of them was asked a question. And if the question was right, they earned money, and the money was banked. And if one of them got the question wrong and the money had not been banked, what would happen is that they would lose all the money. So amongst your team, only one of you getting a wrong question would mean that all the money you had worked for, you lost it. So that person was the weakest link. So after you've lost the money, you would come together and you would discuss amongst yourself. It was a TV show. You discuss amongst yourself and say, this is the weakest link. We want the weakest link out. So in the whole show, every round, they were getting rid of the weakest link until one person was left standing, having the money. But the weakest link was always kicked out because the weakest link was making them lose money. So all their collective work was always lost if they had a weakest link. But if everyone was strong, the whole rounds will be playing, answers will be answered, questions will be asked, answers will be given, and more money would be earned. So when you had a chain that was all strong and no weak link, you got money. Whereas when you had weak link, you lost everything. Everything, including the work, including the strongest person, lost. So you are as strong as your weakest link. Now here, when Brother Jammers was speaking, and I was thinking, who is our weakest link? Because we seem to be speaking the same language. We seem to be wanting the same thing as African people. Who is our weakest link? And it comes down to the word Brother Jammers gave me, president. And the president, as he said, is something I'd never thought of it, is the position of making one person important than the others. And this is where we are. We have presidents who we are electing or voting or democracy, who speak for us. And many of us and these presidents also pick their spokespeople who are these ambassadors in embassies and high commissions whereby the Neanderthals are. So for example, here in the UK, you'll find there is a Jamaican ambassador to the UK. You'll find a Kenyan ambassador to the UK, a Zambian ambassador to the UK. You'll find all these ambassadors from Black countries who are in the UK, they are in France, they are in Belgium, they are in Germany, they are in all these places. And these are pseudo presidents, meaning they are the ones speaking for the African people in the country of the oppressor. So these are the people we have given the power, the voice to speak for us. So they're the ones representing us. And so far, when I look at it, I see these are our weakest link. They are our weakest link. These so-called presidents that we have put there, to borrow Brother Jama's words, they are criminals. They are gatekeepers of the oppressor. So whatever plans that we are making, whatever discussions that we are making, as long as we have these presidents in place, these ambassadors, these presidents, the sitting presidents and prime ministers in place, speaking for us as a people, we lose everything. Just like in that show of The Weakest Link, where you lose everything when you're strongest, when the weak person is making decisions that you all fail. And as Brother Jama says, it is us that give the power. It is us that make these presidents. So there is need for us to make other presidents, other than the ones that are there now, who are just there, courtesy of protecting the interests of the oppressor. But we are giving them the power because we are the ones who are upholding what it is they are saying. We are the ones who are calling them presidents. We are the ones who are listening to what they're saying. So here, this is a call. Brother Jamas, thank you very much for all that you spoke about, especially when you mentioned criminal justice. And I thought, justice for the criminal? And when you mentioned about code of law, I was thinking, okay, we have so many weak links amongst us, but what I take from here and what I'm also telling our people, it is the presidents, the people that we give power to, the people that we say should speak on our behalf. These are the people that we need to take the power away from them and get other people that will represent us well if we go down that president route. I give thanks.
We give thanks to you as well, Sister Sheila. Some really deep food for thought here we're getting. Rise up again, Brother Jammers, for that input there, about us giving power to the criminals. And, we really have to stop and check ourselves as well sometimes, thinking that, they can give us the remedy. Let's hear from people in the chat as well, what their views are on what's been said so far. Brother Jammers is saying that, it's an intellectual battle, and, we have got to acquire, Marcus Garvey would say, the intelligence, because intelligence rules the world. So we've got to acquire the intelligence so that we can have these intellectual battles and be, defining our own rules for ourselves, because the way them have the thing set, and we is set for them. So when we are got down a fit and road for, when we don't know, say, we lose already. See, we should be seeking precedences and doing, setting up our own structures, our rulers, our kings, our queens. Let's bring in Brother Rasso Shing, and then we're going to go to Sister Katora, because I see you want to jump in there, but I'm going to try and go back around. Come in first.
Sorry, fam. I wanted to jump in because what Brother Jammers was referring to, when he speaks of precedents, these are legal statements. These are the things that we look into the legalities of what the British did in their legal courses, and we then use it if it's in our interest because they've set a legal precedent. So let us first understand the difference between president and precedents. All right? And that is why I was applauding Brother Jama, because that is the position that Jamaica has taken. And what has happened throughout the Caribbean? The Asian people are now realizing the position as it goes to their claim. Because when you're dealing with an issue concerning monetary payment, you have to have proper precedents of it. You can't just go and claim for everything. So what we've done is to use the same precedents that was set by the British Parliament, and it was also done by all the so-called Confederate rulers of Europe, including the Spanish, the Portuguese, and the French. So we know exactly how much money Portugal's been having from their French, their Portuguese-speaking colony, and so the Spanish and the French and the British, because the Caribbean is still run by the European enslaver. That is why in Jamaica, the majority of the hotels that is being built are coming from Spain. Spanish investors, the Spanish government. And if you go to the Caribbean, you will see the same families are the ones that have control of everything. And as for Jamaica, we only have 7 families. So when you talk, Sister Shanice, 4%, less than 1% control both the plantation in Jamaica, all this commercial zone, and they also control both political parties. These 7 families, and you'll find right through the Caribbean. That is why President Gonzalez had a storm, because his family has been part of that plantocracy class that has been ruling St. Vincent under the enslaver plan. And that is what has been maintained throughout the Caribbean. 7 families, and they're all from Europe, they're from Arab, and now that we have the Chinese now coming in, because the Chinese are no longer leasing. The government of Jamaica has given China access to any land they want, and as for any commercial zone that China wants to buy, China can buy it. So we now have to deal with the 8th family, which is coming from the Red Dragon, that is now taking over the Caribbean. That is why we have no sympathy when we see the earthquake, because in order to get rid of the beast and the dragon, you have to go to the root of their empire. You have to go to the root of Europe, in this case, England and the Vatican. And as for the Eastern region, you have to go to China, the root of it. The branches, they will always replace the branches, but we now have to get rid of the root, this evil that is amongst we. And that's where we are.
Rise up, rise up. Brother Bradley is saying, I hear plenty of talking and many facts being stated by the speakers, but I don't really hear your solutions to any of these problems. Well, you know, family, the solution lies within us, each and every one of us. We need to look in the mirror and have a conversation in the mirror about what action we need to be taking as an individual, and what organizations or cooperative that we need to be formed part of, so that we can be part of the solution. We all ought to have within us, in my opinion, an understanding of what our purpose is. We're all here for a reason. Why am I here? Why are you here? Ask the person in the mirror that question. Each and every single one of us has a role to play. It is a new day. It's about people power. It's not about sitting back and complaining that the leaders are not doing anything for us. It's about us, you know, taking action, us declaring the power that we've got inside of us, you know, to be the change that we want to see. It's not about us waiting for somebody else to take action. So let's, each and every one of us, if we don't already belong to an organization, join an organization. There's a fantastic Zoom meeting that's happening this coming Friday. The link is in the chat. It's the Rapid Africa Plan. They're talking about how we can move towards industrializing Africa, you know, rapidly within the next 40 years. We're looking to see a new Africa within the next 40 years, and every single one of us has got a role to play. We can't wait for these misleaders. We can't wait for these, you know, those who have been put in control of our countries, who are being controlled behind the scenes, to be doing what we expect them to be doing. It's clearly obvious that that's not going to be happening. So we are going to have to take action. We are going to have to be the problem solvers. If we see a gap, we need to fill it. There's a reason why we're seeing that gap, and the reason why we're seeing that problem. So we might just have, we're just about 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. So we're going to give each of our speakers 2 minutes as we go around, starting with our guest, Sister Katora. Sister Katora, can you hear me?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hearing you now.
Yes. Thank you for the time. Yeah, one of the things that we can do is to lower our consumption of the all the mass-produced things in the earth that seem to distract us from our central purpose. We find out after a hurricane or any other kind of natural disaster how simply we can live, how there's so many things that we don't actually need to live on a daily basis and to live a fulsome life. And I think one of the things that we can begin to do in terms of our own personal journey towards repairing and restoring ourselves. I know one of my brothers on the panel doesn't like the word, but I know what I mean by the word. We have to reclaim our own self-identity, our own personal sovereignty, and shape our lives in a way that we are not so reliant on the goods and the distractions that are provided to us by the system. We need to simplify our lives so that we can begin to build within ourselves that vibration, that strength. I've heard the word spirit and spirituality used, but I do believe that each one of us can take action to change our lives. We depend on a system that is adverse to us. And in that way, we begin to take the steps towards of our own self-repair. The persons who in the community are held up as people of repair, I really haven't seen them as people of repair for a very long time. Rip off certainly, but repair not. But we have to begin to define, as Africans have always made language, we have to begin to re-language and to define things for ourselves. Rastafari has given us a great example of that. We come up with new words, and the words have a different meaning from what it has had in Babylon system. And I think we have to each do that interior journey of strengthening ourselves and making sure that we are less reliant on the system that's adverse to us. Thank you for the 2 minutes. I was watching the clock.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, let's have some more solutions. Dr. Abu.
Vudum family.
Vudum.
You know, some of us reap every year from the man because we're bent to fit. In bend us backside to fit in a theme thing. So we go with the benefit. You understand? And this is why I'm used, you know, all lot of our so-called celebrity, them bend to fit. You understand, you know? And this is the whole thing. You know, them said if you have a corrupted leader, you will have a lot of misinformed devotee. And this is what's happening to our people. Our people put their trust, you understand, in people that they think is there for them. You know, just like the fish. The fish thought that there was no hook under the worm until in bloody get hooked. You know? And I'm saying to each and every one of us, all the position where black people in is white people put them in it and then give up their purpose for your position, blood, because they bend to fit. They will kill them one another for the little benefit where the man give to them. You understand? And we do it in so many different ways. You understand? We sell with piece of land all in the Caribbean to come here to fit in because we wasn't very they never sit us down and talk to us, you know, see it as a family, you know. They make a lot of money out of us. You have African people in the Caribbean, in Africa, in America, in Europe. They pay the mortgage off of the misery of their own people. You understand? So I now come here, I now apologize to none of them. We are all a sick bunch of suckers. And until we understand that we need treatment, you understand? And stop sleep with the patient. This is what's happening to us. We're sleeping with the friggin' patient. You understand? That's why we're in this predicament that we are in, you know? And we must get ourselves in truth, man, and stop living the damn lies. Stop, come out of the denial. We not too much denial. You understand? Because we get caught up enough the man festive season. So we become seasonal people. We start being everyday people. We lie up on Monday, and Tuesday we ask the Lord to forgive us because we develop the behavior of the kidnapper blood. That's the truth, may I tell you. The same thing what he used to do to us on the plantation is what we are do to one another. You know, the man used to pass us on the veranda and go in for a woman, and today we are doing it to a brother, we are doing it to a sister, and we call it life. Death. Get out of the bend to fit. And then we see that we have a responsibility to each and every one. Vodum, all the time.
Vodum, Dr. Abu, no more bending to fit. And come out of that state of denial. I want to rise up those in the chats who are putting their suggestions and their solutions as well. And, you know, as our sis was saying before as well, don't buy into the capitalist goods. Don't buy into the capitalist system. You know, if we start to live a bit more simply, we've got more finances, I would imagine, to put towards something greater than we as an individual could potentially do. Let's hear from Sister Sheila. Rise up, Sister Sheila. Any solutions from you, my sis?
Yes, there have been very many solutions, and one of them being the need to come together, and the need to go back to our spirituality, the need to just know our identity. There's been many solutions that has been said here. So for the brother or sister that felt there were only conversations and no solutions, it will help you a lot to go and rewatch the show, and you will see so many solutions. My parting shot is to go back to storytelling as we're talking like this, having conversations like this. This in itself is a solution. When all of us come from wherever it is we're coming from and come and share, this is how the African people always passed information orally. So even by having a show like this where we gather ourselves every Wednesday and we have these conversations, this is a solution. This is how seeds get planted. This is how people come together and form a way forward. So we should not undermine the power of coming and speaking. There is no action that can be started without you saying the scope of the problem. So when we discuss like this, we are laying out the scope of the problem. And from that discussion, solutions, practicable, practical, actionable solutions come from that. I give so much thanks for this opportunity, for this platform, for the people we keep meeting every strong. I give thanks.
We give thanks to you. Looks like we got 156 watching, but only 61 likes. Come on, people, please give us a thumbs up. And also, you know, please make a comment under the main video, not just inside the chat, but also under the video itself, because when people read your comments, they may be more inclined to take a listen to the conversation and hear what we have to say. And we can't leave today without hearing from Brother Jammers. Jammers, how you come so late, man? You know, we love to hear from you.
I had to run off and pay my electric bill, if you notice, to get on.
Oh, family, we need a whip round for Brother Jammers.
But I want to take, I just like to thank everybody, all the panels for their contributions, you know, and I just want to take on what Dr. Abu said about bend to fit, because when we, and what Shyla said, which was president, which presidents, but they both work, because to bend to fit, what did they do? You seek employment. I want the family to look up what ploy means. Ploy means a trick, you know. So why are they putting us in a trick? They're putting us in a trick to work for them and not develop our own businesses. And what do they do? When you get into a high level of employment, they tie you in a suit with a set of rules. So they tie you in a lawsuit. And if you don't follow their rules, they will hang you. You see. So the first, now going into the solution, decisions is made on presidents. On presidents in law, this is what a decision is made on. So for the solution, when you're going to an illegal battle, and once again, I have to stress, it's an intellectual battle. Presidents come from the word precede, what has gone before. So all decisions in law are made on what happened when this situation occurred before. And this is the element that we have to attack for a solution. What is the problem? What's happening? We're attacking the effects, but we're not attacking law itself. So we have to take law itself by the presidents. And this is where they've set us up to fail. Because precedence comes from what precede what happened before. When you can show what happened before and what occurred before, then you can get your remedy. So what do they do to trick us? They show us, once again, president, once again, I'll read that out. It's a condition of being considered more important than somebody else. This is the law. They trick us with the effects of their criminal act, which is race, which is white superiority, but this is just an effect of the law that they put in place. So once again, how did they trick us? They tricked us by showing us that they are superior to us by giving us what? Slavery. This is the biggest trick played on us, tricking us to think that we were slabs. Yeah, they're not showing us what happened before they took rule. What was the presidents before they stole our goods? So we've got to look. We've got to go back before we were enslaved and look at how they stole our goods. Because another thing for the solution, basically, they've hidden. To find a president, you've got to go into the detail of the rule. This is how you find the detail of. Where do you find the detail of the rule? The detail of the rule is hidden in the code of law. Where is the code of law written? In Latin. What does Latin mean? Lay in a tin. Tin backwards is night, which is light, which is to shine. Tin hides what is in. The word Latin, I'll give you another two definitions of the word Latin. Comes from latibra, which is hiding place, concealment, and hidden. And latio, which means concealment, in Greek means to lurk, hide, or to be concealed. So this is how they've tricked us. They've basically hidden their rules in Latin, and so that they don't perceive that we will go and be able to work out where their so-called criminal justice system is hidden, but it's hidden in the rules of Latin. So this is how we go to the solution, into an intellectual battlefield. I want everybody to look at precedents in law. And we have to start to give ourselves precedents. We have to start to empower ourselves, not the presidents. Forget about the presidents because they're tied in a lawsuit. We have to give ourselves power in an intellectual field and form an intellectual body where we are an authority to ourselves. And when we come into an agreement that we have people that's going to represent us as our authority under our presidents, then we can challenge their legal laws or illegal laws and stop criminals getting justice and stopping our growth with their system. So don't bend to fit and don't get tied in a lawsuit. You know, let's go into an intellectual battlefield to win. Thank you.
Wow, jammers. We need our legalese. We need our team of lawyers, our 1,000 team of lawyers who are Latin reading lawyers as well, so that they can, uncover that which has been hidden from us. Family, we are already over the top of the hour. And, I just want to thank you all so much. Panel members, enough love and respect to each and every one of you. Sister Sheila, you've got two marriage offers in the group. Beautiful family we've got here. Dr. Abu, Sister Katura, Brother Rasoshing, Sister Sheila, and Brother Jammers. Thank you all so much. To everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Please give us a like before you leave. And also please comment, under the main video as well, so others can hear what you think of the show, so you can encourage them. We need our team of lawyers to get together and to be setting the precedences. It may be that we have our own court of law, which is outside of their court system, and where we demand that they attend our court. And there's individual action that we can take. We can live more simply. Look at the Jews. Look how they dress. The ones in the UK anyway, that live around Stamford Hill, they wear the same one hat and the same one gown and the same one everything. They don't buy into capitalism. They don't seem to buy into the system at all. They pour all their finances and all their resources together so that they can be the ones who are managing the shops that they spend, where they spend their money, etc. So we have got to start looking in the mirror and start looking to ourselves for the solution for our problems. We are the revolutionaries. We are the ones who are going to have to make the change. We are the ones who are going to have to do for self. We can't wait for anyone else to come and do it for us. If you don't know what your purpose is, ask the one in the mirror, and the answer will come to you as you sleep or as you meditate. We're going to leave it there for now. Rising you all up. All being well, we'll be back next Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. for the Sister Shanice Show. Please spread the word. More love, more power.
Continue
more
rising, family. Continue rising.